So twice a year, my local library has their huge Friends of the Library fundraiser, a large book sale lasting 3 days. I usually make it at least 2 of the days, if not all 3, but this time I only made it once, but I did manage to score a pretty decent haul. So stick around to see what I got today on Rogers Reads. Well, hi friends. For those of you new around here, my name is Roger and welcome to my channel, Rogers Reads. So as I mentioned, I scored some books from my local Friends of the Library book sale the other day. But unfortunately I only made it there one day. I usually try to make it all 3 days because they're replenishing the books constantly. But I did manage to find 10 books that I'm really looking forward to reading. So the first 2 books were Louise Penny books, actually, which was Glass House and Kingdom of the Blind. And both of these feature a Quebecois detective named Armand Gamache. And I've read some Louise Penny books and I've always enjoyed them, and they're mystery novels. At least I think Gamache is Quebecois, but if not, I do know that he's the head of the Sûreté de Québec. And I've always enjoyed the ones that I've read, so I snatched these up right away when I saw them. So the first book is this one, Glass Houses by Louise Penny. So all I know about this one is that a strange creature one night appears standing in the rain and the sleet. And by creature, I imagine non-human. So the creature vanishes overnight, but the next morning there's a dead body, and it's up to Gamache to figure it out. Now this is the 13th book in this series, and I do believe that they do not need to be read in any kind of order, much like Christie's Poirot novels. But don't quote me on that. You might want to check for yourself. So the next book, another Louise Penny book, was The Kingdom of the Blind. So in this book, Gamache is invited to an abandoned farmhouse and discovers that a complete stranger has named him one of the executors of her will. So he learns that the other 2 executors are Myrna Landers, the bookseller from 3 Pines, and a young builder. And none of them has ever met the elderly woman. So the will ends up being really, really strange, and it includes bequests that are so wildly unlikely that Gamache and the others suspect that the woman may have been a tad delusional. But when a body is found, the terms of the bizarre will suddenly seem less peculiar and far more menacing. So sounds like a fun one. Next up is The Immortalists, and this is by Chloe Benjamin. So I've heard a lot about this book, and it's been on my wish list actually for a while now. It is set in 1969 and follows a traveling psychic who claims to be able to tell anyone the day they are to die. So 4 adolescents sneak out to get their fortunes told by the psychic, and from there the prophecies follow them through 5 decades. So it's supposedly a story about destiny and choice, about reality and illusion. So it sounds right up my alley, and I can't wait. And actually we're reading this next time for my in-person book club, and since I'm hosting the book club, I got to choose the book, so I chose this one since I already had it. But yeah, hopefully it'll be fun. Next up is The Clockmaker's Daughter, and that is by Kate Morton, right? Yes, Kate Morton. So this was a Book of the Month Club selection several months back, and I almost got it then, but there were a couple of other books that really intrigued me, so I ended up getting them and then just adding this to my wish list. So I show up to the library sale, and lo and behold, there it was, on the table waiting for me to take it home. So part of this story takes place in 1862 when a group of young artists planned to spend a secluded summer at the Birchwood Manor in the upper banks of the Thames. But by the time their stay is over, one woman has been shot to death while another has disappeared. A priceless heirloom is missing, and one of the men, Edward Radcliffe, his life is in ruins. So then we fast forward 150 years later when Elodie Winslow is a young archivist who discovers a leather satchel containing a sepia photograph of a woman in Victorian clothing and an artist's sketchbook containing drawings of the twin-gabled house on the bend of the river, Birchwood Manor. So what's interesting is why the manor feels so familiar to Elodie. So I guess the story is told by multiple voices across time and is about murder, mystery, and thievery, art, love, and loss. And supposedly there is the clockmaker's daughter who stands outside of time and has watched it all unfold. So sounds very intriguing. And I really wonder why I didn't get it the first time it popped up in the Book of the Month Club. But I got it now and I only had to pay $1. So, next up is a book entitled Enchantress by Maggie Anton. So this follows a woman who is one of the most powerful practitioners of the mysterious arts, and her husband, whose arcane knowledge of the secret Torah enabled him to create a man out of earth. I guess like a golem probably, and he was able to resurrect another rabbi from death. So the two of them brave an evil sorceress, a demon king, and even the angel of death in a quest to protect their people. So this one sounds like it's right up my alley. So I'm looking forward to it. So the next book on my list is entitled Sex Crimes by Jennifer Shute, if I can get that without it being too glary. So this is actually kind of funny, but when I was at the library, I read this as 6 crimes, the number 6, not sex crimes. But I didn't read the blurb, but the blurb sounded enticing, so I picked it up regardless. So this follows Christine Chandler, a 38-year-old Harvard-educated lawyer who feels that she is always in total control. So, one night she picks up Scott DeSalvo, a younger man, for what she tells herself is just a one-night stand. 10 months later, she stands accused of a crime so heinous that the tabloids have dubbed her the Boston Fury. But as Christine describes the series of sexual encounters that led to the night in question, and newspaper clips, police reports, and the dispositions of those who thought they knew her, chisel away at her story. So this is described as a woman who walks the thin psychological line between fantasy and reality as a sexual obsession escalates into a single irrevocable act of violence. And of course, the age-old question is, why? So this sounds super dark and twisted, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. Next on my list is The Jane Austen Project by Kathleen A. Flynn. So here we have another time travel novel in which 2 researchers from the far future are sent back in time to meet Jane Austen and then befriend her. And once they do, they need to steal a suspected unpublished novel. But things get a little bit complicated when their friendship with Austen deepens, and gets even more complicated when Jane's fatal illness is discovered. And then the travelers have to deal with their directive to leave history intact and exactly as they found it, however heartbreaking it may prove. But of course the main question is, why have these people come from the far future back to 19th century England to steal an unpublished novel? So yeah, sounds fun. So next up is a book entitled The Merlin Conspiracy. This is written by Diana Wynne Jones. So I always love King Arthur and Merlin retellings and reimagining. So this one caught my eye when I read the blurb. So this follows 2 kids, Roddy and Grundle, who discovered that the Merlin of Blests death may not have been a natural one. In fact, the Merlin's replacement, as well as the other courtiers, are scheming to steal the magic of Blessed for themselves or for their own purposes. So Roddy, he enlists the help of Nick, who's a boy from another world, and the three of them have to use their impressive powers to stop the conspirators. Otherwise, the results could even be more dreadful than any of them could have possibly imagined. Now, I did discover this as book 2 in this series, but I do believe they can be read independently. But still, I'm going to scour the interwebs to see if I can find the first book of this series before I read this one. So next up is The Art of Racing in the Rain, and this is written by Garth Stein. So I know a lot of people love this book, and given that it was only 50 cents, I thought I'd pick it up. So all I know is that it's a look at the wonders as well as the absurdities of human life, all from a dog's point of view. So I think this could be a lot of fun. Actually, it's quite a short read too, so I should be able to get through this pretty quickly. Next up on the list is A Dog's Journey by W. Bruce Cameron. So this is another story told from the dog's perspective. And this follows a dog named Buddy who dies and he is reborn over and over until he realizes that he has a new destiny when he's adopted by a troubled teenager. Now that's really all I know about this book, except that it's going to be released as a film this year. Now, I don't know, I'm a little bit hesitant to go into it because it sounds heartbreaking. I mean, here we have a dog who dies over and over again. I mean, God, take my heart, rip it out, and toss it in the blender. But I've heard a lot of things about this book, and it's been well received, so I will be checking it out. So that was my book haul. Now, in addition, I also hauled two books this month from the Book of the Month Club. And the first one is The Opposite of Always by Justin A. Reynolds. So make sure see if I can get that in the camera there. So this one I've already talked about on this channel. I think it was during my March mid-month wrap-up, actually. So the gist of it is, boy meets girl, girl dies. Boy is whisked back to the past to the moment they first met. Boy then decides to save girl. So it's a funny little story with this book. I kind of did a boneheaded maneuver. This was one of the selections for the Book of the Month Club. So I remember when I decided, I thought, I wanted to read that. So I ordered this one as well as another one. So then a couple of weeks later, I must have forgotten about it. I was at the library and I saw this book. And I thought, so that book was one of the books I wanted to read. So I picked it up, checked it out, read it, and 2 days later, what appears in the mail but this one. So I have a nice, new, pristine copy of this book that I'll probably end up donating at some point. But yeah, so that was The Opposite of Always. And I actually did enjoy this book. And the last book I'm going to haul this month is entitled Before She Knew Him by Peter Swanson. So this is a thriller that follows a young suburban wife with a history of psychological instability who begins to suspect that her new neighbor Matthew is the murderer of a young man who was killed 2 years prior. So the more she observes the man, the more she suspects that he's planning something truly terrifying. Yet nobody will believe her. So one night she comes face to face with Matthew in a dark parking lot, and we're going to have to read the book to find out what happens. So it sounds kind of good, and I love me a good mystery. So yeah, so I got this as an add-on to my Book of the Month Club box. So that's my haul. How about you? Have you hauled any good books lately? Let me know in the description. And actually, that is it for this video. As always, I thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all of your support. And if you like this video, I'd really appreciate if you click the like button below, as that helps my channel out. And that about does it. I will talk to you in the next video. Roger and out.